on my watch. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Let's identify who's the record. Will each committee member indicate their presence as I say their name? Me, Roberta Spoon, Joanna Hester.
Present, Madam Chair.
Okay, and Margaret Davis.
Present.
Okay, perfect. So this meeting is occurring by video conference with all the committee members, the general counsel and staff participating by Zoom. We're using the process authorized by Governor Newsom's executive order, which he issued on March 17th to address COVID. Our committee members are all in attendance. Let's identify who is also participating here, just for the record. So can we identify the people attending from Cohen Resnick, our public accountants? Amadou is
okay, sorry, I was mute, and thank you. I mean, we have a couple of our teams, so I'm just gonna introduce myself, and everybody will introduce themselves on the call.
Perfect.
Myself, I'm Amadou Alenchar Bokar. I'm the engagement partner for the San Diego Housing Commission at Cohen Resnick.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie Tang from Cohen Resnick. I'm the senior manager, and I'm working with the commission on the agency side.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm Lisa. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Roberta. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Shufflin. I'm also a senior audit manager, and I work with the commission on the project side.
Thank you, Lisa. It's nice to see you. And
You too.
legal counsel?
Yes, Charles Christensen present.
Great. And now we have mission staff, starting with Tracy. And when you introduce yourself, will you please give your titles? Tracy?
Sure. This is Tracy McDermott, the Chief Financial Officer.
Laura Prazak, Vice President of Financial Services.
Good morning.
Marie Lawless, Controller.
Morning, Marie.
Julie Conserva, Director of Accounting for the real estate side.
Christelle Vanderwint, Finance Director on Grants and Reporting.
Amy O'Connor, Finance Manager of Operations.
Morning.
Tracy Bryson, Manager of Audit and Reporting.
Jan Hall, Senior Accountant.
Adrian Awayo, Manager of Finance for Real Estate Operations.
Morning.
Matt Higgins, Senior Budget Analyst.
Good morning, Saket Dayal, Executive Vice President of Business Administration.
Morning, Saket.
Good morning, everyone. Jeff Davis, Deputy Chief Executive Officer.
Yeah.
Is that everybody?
I believe so.
Tracy, is that everyone from Housing Commission?
Yes, I brought the village, the finance village.
Great, that's great. And thank you very much for doing that. So we have no members of the public that are in attendance. However, the members of the public may watch the video conference and hear the audio of today's meeting, which is streamed live online. The agenda for today's meeting included a link to the website for the Housing Commission where the public can access live streaming for today's meeting. The public has been provided with an alternative opportunity to provide comments to the committee through an online comment form. The agenda and the public comment form explained that comments about items on the agenda were to be read into the record if they were submitted by 4 p.m. yesterday, Thursday, October 29th. In addition, non-agenda public comments submitted by 8 o'clock this morning would have also been read into the record. I have been advised that there are no public comments that have been submitted for today's meeting. So we will now proceed with the first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the audit committee minutes from November 4th, 2019. And I do have a comment to make about those minutes. I would like to include a change in the minutes under the title or under the paragraph that's titled Open Forum for Q&A. It discusses Chair Spoon is talking, I was talking about the unrestricted net position, but the language in that paragraph doesn't identify what I was talking about. It
Okay.
just identifies the changes. So in the first sentence, would you just include that Chair Spoon is referring to the unrestricted net position? All right. So with that change, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
And and that was by Ms. Hester?
Yes.
And then do I have a second?
Second. By Margaret Davis, second.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Let's all in favor say aye, or should we say aye separately, Chuck?
I muted myself. Yes, that'd be best if you say your name first and then vote.
Okay.
Commissioner Hester, yes.
Margaret?
Margaret Davis, aye.
And Roberta Spoon, yes. So the motion passes unanimously. Next, we'll proceed with the independent auditor's report and presentation. So Amadou, take it away.
I thank you, Chair. So yeah, so we are here for the audit. We did the audit of the financial statements of the San Diego Housing Commission for the year ended June 30th, 2020. And we also issued audit report for some projects and some components of the Housing Commission, mainly the FHA LLCs, which are filed with HUD by September 30th, and the two state projects, which is adaptable housing and the Ote Villas as well. Yeah, so we have a deck that summarizes the audit results. It's kind of our communication to the audit committee, just to briefly summarize the audit of the commission, how the process goes, and the items that we want the community to pay attention to. And I will just pass it to Jackie. He can go through the kind of the process and the results of the audit.
Great. Thank you, Amadou. And then you guys have the slide here, the deck in front of you. And then if I need the next slide, I'll just go ahead and ask for it, I believe. So we did our audit for the year ended June 30th, 2020 for the listed entities that Amadou had mentioned earlier. If you don't mind going to the next slide here. Here's our audit results. Through the course of our audit and our procedures performed, we could opine on different opinions, ranging from unmodified all the way to a disclaimer. We're very happy to disclose an unmodified opinion. It's a really fancy way of saying it's a clean opinion. And through the single audit over compliance reporting and the financial reporting, there were no material weaknesses identified or no significant deficiencies that we are reporting here. So clean across the board over compliance and the financial aspect. And then if you don't mind, the next slide, please. As part of our procedures, we're required to communicate to those charged with governance. The first thing on our item, we just wanted to note that GASB 84 fiduciary activities, SDHC actually early adopted or elected to early adopt in conjunction with the city reporting. That's really reporting with the pension plan and then the deferred comp plan. So included in the CAFR, in the basic set of financial statements, you'll see the fiduciary activities there. The next item is the accounting policy and estimates. There's 3 items that involve some management level of estimates or judgment. The first is the loan portfolio. Really that surrounds the estimates around the notes receivable that SDHC administers. And then there's the fixed asset portfolio of depreciation. That's just the estimate of useful lives over the fixed assets. And then lastly, the accrued compensation absence that surrounds pay, maximum eligibility of leave here. And then last slide, please. Here, we're very happy to disclose that there's no difficulties with management that we encountered. There was 0 audit adjustments, no past adjustments, no entries made from the audit report itself. And then I'd be remiss to admit that with the remote environment, Tracy's team did a great job. I didn't feel like we skipped a beat. We just continue like business as usual. So very happy with that. And then I could turn it back to you, Amadou. Or if we have any questions here, we're happy to answer.
Yeah, I think thank you. That's kind of the summary of the results of audit section. And I think Tracy usually presents the numbers themselves, but if there are any questions for us, we'll here yes to answer any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Jackie. That was great. I appreciated it. So Tracy.
Ready for our presentation. We could start on slide 2. Good morning again, audit committee members and general counsel. I'm Tracy McDermott. I'm Chief Financial Officer of the San Diego Housing Commission. I have with me our controller, Marie Lawless. We're going to present today the results of our fiscal year 2020 annual financial audit. So let's go to slide 3. This is our timeline for our 2020 audit. As you can see, very busy year with HCP audit, Housing Commission audit. So this is where I'd like to take the time to thank the entire finance team, the village I invited. As you can see, as our Housing Commission continues to grow, so do our audit. I invited the core audit team to the Zoom meeting, and this is a tremendous accomplishment. And the entire team is to be commended. Thank you, team. Couldn't have done it without you. Very proud. So let's go to slide 4. Like Resnick just mentioned, we have an unmodified opinion. That's a very good thing. No management letter comments. We did do early adoption for Statement 84. If you're really interested in seeing that, that's on page 43 of our CAFR. It's just additional financial reporting of our pension and deferred compensation plan. So now we can go to slide 5 and look at the summary of our results. So in fiscal year...
Tracy,
yes.
I'm sorry, I am curious about that the statement 84, if you can just elaborate a little bit more.
Sure.
As it's related to employees' pensions.
Right, so let's see, I'm gonna actually turn to page 43. So we did an early adoption in union with the city. So we meet with the city Department of Finance and their external auditors and Resnick. We met in early June. And we implemented additional disclosure of our deferred compensation plan and our 457 plan. And they're actually, it's a disclosure of our assets in those plans. So if you go to we sent you the documents. You go to page 43 of our CAFR, we list out the value of those plans, which is required per GASB 84. So it's really just an additional disclosure of our audit that are separate from our financial audit. And it's basically the value of all of the investments of our participants in these 2 plans. Is that?
And you said that's in page 42 of what report?
43 of the large CAFR that we sent on Tuesday. And that's what you guys are approving today.
Got it. Thank you.
And I'm happy to go over that individually if you'd like as well.
Thank you for that, Tracy.
So we accelerated the audit. Normally we do that at the end of the year. We asked our auditors, a different firm, Leaf & Cole, to accelerate that so we could get those financials put in time to meet our deadline to produce this CAFR on a timely manner. So moving on to our financial results summary. The Housing Commission received close to $312 million in revenue, and expenses were $293 million. And the Housing Commission's efforts to address homelessness was about $67 million in 2020. Also, we closed close to $39 million in multifamily developments and single-family loans. And to address the impact of COVID-19, the Housing Commission directly received CARES Act funding of $3.2 million and expended a minor portion in fiscal year 2020. And then subsequent to June 30th, we also received additional $3.8 million. We have until December 31st, 2021 to spend both increments. So let's move on to slide 3 and talk about revenues by funding type. This pie graph shows 2020 revenues by funding type, federal, local, and state. We continue to receive a significant portion of our revenue from federal sources, close to $237 million or 76% in 2020. So now we can go on to slide 7. This is our revenues year over year, 2020 compared to 2019. So you can see that the majority of our revenues from grant revenue, which includes housing assistance grants. These are the orange and dark blue colored blocks on the bar graphs, which accounts for 80% of our total revenue earned. The increase in grant revenue of 35% or 16% from prior years, primarily due to federal revenues such as moving to work and community development block grants and additional local funds collections, affordable housing funds and general funds. Next slide, please. This is expenses year over year, 2020 compared to 2019. You can see that the housing assistance payments, the dark blue colored blocks on the bar graphs, continue to be the majority of the Housing Commission's expenses, and increased almost 21% due to an increase in the average cost of rental assistance payments and an uptick of almost 5% on voucher utilization. Expense, the orange colored block on the bar graphs, is also a large part of the house and increased by almost 15 million, primarily due to increased homeless activities as we open a 4th bridge shelter and incurred increased expenses related to the Golden Hall expansion. Let's go on to slide 9. And this is just a recap of the last 2 slides of our revenue and expenses. Now let's move on to slide 10 and talk about net 2020 compared to 2019. This bar graph depicts our assets and liabilities and net position, which is also known as our balance sheet for fiscal years 2020 and 2019. You can see overall, the general composition didn't change much year over year. The top part is our assets, cash, receivables, and capital assets, our buildings. And our increase was over 57 million, which is mainly due to funding more multifamily and home ownership loans. And we have a deferred gain from the sale of Mariners Village. Capital additions also decrease because of the sale of Mariners Village to HDP. The bottom section is our liabilities and net position. Net position is the agency's accumulated net worth since inception. This is the value of all of the agency's assets if they were liquidated and outstanding debts and all obligations were paid. Our overall net position increased by almost 19 million. And accordingly, due to the increased value of lands issued offset by capital assets. Now let's go to slide 11. And this is a recap of the slide before. Now let's go on to slide 12, and I will go over the statement of net position definitions. So I'd like to take this opportunity to explain in more detail as designated by the Government Accounting Standards Board. Net investment in capital assets, that's brick and mortar, that's our properties. That's cost at acquisition plus any building improvements, less any loans outstanding on our assets, less any depreciation. And then we have restricted net position. And that is our loans receivable due to us that are federally backed with federal funds. And by default, as required by GASB accounting definition, that remaining balance has to be classified as unrestricted net position for financial reporting purposes only. However, this classification is not indicative that these funds are available for discretionary use. So let's go to slide 13 and let's talk about unrestricted net position breakout. So this slide further breaks out our unrestricted net position by categories. So about 237 million is existing affordable housing loans. That's money due back to us, notes receivable, home ownership loans, multifamily loans. 92 million is committed to board resolutions and 2021 budget obligations. And then we have about 12 million set aside for our contingency reserve. That's in case something happens and it's required by the city. And finally, we have leaves very little left for our property replacement reserves, which that's restricted for maintaining our Housing Commission owned properties. Okay, so let's move on to slide 14 and go over a few operational highlights. In addition to providing housing assistance to more than 15,800 families, the rental assistance division provided mobility counseling and assistance and security deposit loans to help families move to communities with more opportunities. And the award-winning Achievement Academy helped participants find jobs as well and increase earnings. Now let's go to slide 15 and talk about the real estate division. They created 541 affordable units through housing partnership developments, extended affordability for low-income families through a preservation loan, and invested almost $9 million in the rehabilitation of commission-owned properties. Let's go to the next slide and talk about Homeless Housing Innovation Department. They were very busy in 2020. Here's a listing of the current programs listed here, and under Housing First, the Housing Commission's Homeless Action Plan from 2017 to 2020, almost 6,500 permanent housing opportunities have been created, which is more than double the program goal of 3,000. Now, continuing on to slide 17, the shelters and programs under the Homeless Housing Innovation Department. I also want to highlight Operation Shelter to Home, where the San Diego Convention Center was open in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Approximately 1,100 people are provided shelter daily. Now let's move on to slide 18 and talk about the expenditures on homelessness activities. This slide summarizes the Housing Commission's continuing efforts to address homelessness over the past 5 years. In fiscal year 20, we wrapped up our efforts to acquire the hotels. In fiscal year 21, we have since acquired Hillcrest Inn and in the process of purchasing 2 other hotels. We will continue to expend more dollars on all of the other homeless activities, such as permanent supportive housing and supportive services. Now to slide 19. And finally, I would like to conclude by highlighting. We continue to receive certificates of achievement for excellence in financial reporting, 12 years for the CAFR and 10 years for the PAFR, which everybody has for them. It's basically the Cliff Notes of the CAFR. It's only like 20 pages, much easier to read. I encourage you to look at that one first. The CAFR is quite long. So let's move to slide 20 and we can conclude this presentation. And I am here to answer any questions with my staff. And I would also like to thank the Audit Committee for all their support. That's it.
Thank you very much, Tracy. That was an excellent presentation. I have a couple of comments and questions. Can you explain the deferred gain on Mariners Village and why that gain wasn't recognized in this period?
Yes, because of the timing cutoff of HTP. HTP's
what?
Is their calendar year. And so it's kind of like Back to the Future.
Right.
It has not happened on the HTP books as of this cutoff. So it's a deferred gain until next year. We will be reporting that gain.
And that complexity is because HTP has a different year end than the Housing Commission. And that's That's really the only reason that that's deferred and not recognized.
That is correct.
Okay, great. And then getting back to the pension and the new disclosure regarding the value of the pension, I just wanted to clarify for the other commissioners that the pension is really a separate legal entity.
That is correct.
It is a separate legal entity, and it has its own audit. So those are not funds that are owned by the Housing Commission. They are on the books of the pension entity and disclosed in the CAFR of the Housing Commission.
That is correct.
And that's new. That's a new pronouncement. Right.
Yes. Yes. And we did an early adoption to be in conjunction with the city.
And have you presented this to the city yet?
Yes, we gave them a draft of our audited financials October 6th. They had the review, a few questions, and they are good with our CAFR as well.
And did you do the presentation for the city? Did you do your slide presentation?
They do not require that anymore.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Lucky you.
Yes.
Right. Which means they have no questions.
Right. Rolando excused us from that like 5 years ago.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay. Well, I want to congratulate everybody on number one, on again receiving that certificate in excellence in financial reporting. It's outstanding. But this year, particularly with COVID and all the complications, I would like to congratulate the finance staff and certainly the staff at Cohen-Resnick. It's just amazing to me that you were able to get all of this accomplished in this period of time. And so much of it was early and with no management comments and no additional entries. It's an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations to all of you. And I'm glad everyone is on the line.
Me too.
To hear that
without them.
Because it's a miracle. I mean, I'm really proud of all of you, and it's running so smoothly. So thank you again. With that, do we have a motion to accept the CAFR? I need a motion by a committee member.
So move.
Great. And
Second by Maggie.
Thank you very much. So let's take a vote. Roberta Spoon, yes.
Joanna Hester, Commissioner Hester, yes.
Commissioner Davis, yes.
Great. So all in favor. And does anybody have any additional comments or questions? And if not, I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
I would like to just also congratulate Tracy's team for another year of job well done. Your team continues to impress me, so I'm very secure that we are in good hands. This Housing Commission is in good hands and under your management team. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your comment. Everybody appreciates that. All right, with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting and the time is 9:31.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.